If you want to put on 15 to 20 pounds of lean muscle within the next 90 days, then this video is for you because I'm going to break down 4 concepts that you're missing that are holding you back from not just accelerating your metabolism and dialing in your physique, but more importantly, just the overall contentment you feel from the results you're seeing. Now, if you're somebody that's lazy, unmotivated, isn't going to the gym, then this video is not for you. You should probably just exit out and close off the video because, to be honest with you, I can't virtually jump through the screen, grab you by the shirt, and strangle you and say, "Bro, get to the gym." I can't do any of that. And as much as I would love to, actually, I'm being honest, I really don't want to do that. So, if you're not that type of person, you're actually serious about getting this video is for you. And I'm going to break down the 4 concepts that you're missing that's holding you back from putting on that 15, 20 pounds of muscle within 90 days. Now, because let's just be honest, like we all want results, but we want them fast. And I always grew up right where people told me like you have to wait and be patient, but it's furthest from the truth, right? You need to put in consistent action, and it does take time, but you have to be doing the right things. And if you're doing the right things, you're going to see feedback loops and get positive results. So now that you're here, you're probably someone that's motivated, serious, ready to take action. You want to know the next steps in terms of like how to actually get your physique to the next level, put on lean muscle without putting on body fat, right? Or at least very much of it. Now that you're here, I want to just briefly touch on my story and where I'm coming from in terms of why I'm actually giving these steps in the first place. See, I used to be an in-person trainer. I've been passionate about fitness and truly in the space for about 12 years now. And I've always wanted to help people with their fitness. And when I started with in-person training, I knew from the get-go it was a stepping stone. I knew that I wanted to do something more, create a business, whether it be in-person or online, something along those lines. But I found out through in-person training, just it wasn't cutting it for the people I was working with. And they got results, don't get me wrong, but they didn't get the quite results that my online coaching clients started getting when they were implementing these systems and these 4 concepts. Because the in-person training, let's just be honest, it's a slice of the pie. You're getting 1 out of the 8 slices of pizza, and great. You're doing the training sessions, you're doing okay with the technique, you have some accountability, but you're missing a whole bunch of other pieces of the pizza that are just going to keep you hungry, frustrated, and ready for more. So if you resonate with that, maybe you've worked with a trainer in the past, maybe you've gone to the gym on your own, maybe you've noticed like it's hard with just the in-person training to get results. You have to also look at the other factors: nutrition, the recovery, the accountability, and more importantly, the mindset and the belief patterns you have to adopt to become the type of person that can achieve these results. Now, when I was working in person, I noticed that a lot of clients would ask for things like accountability, nutrition, and I was able to help them, but not to the extent I am now, because now I'm literally laser focused on making data-driven decisions based on their goals, their preferences, and what the numbers actually show. See, I have systems inside the program to make sure that clients are getting results, and when they're not, we know exactly why, so we can stop it from happening and quite literally just get them the results they want. Without data, bro, you can't make any decisions that are actually going to be logical. Any decision made without math or data is literally just an idea and a made-up story in your head. So don't trust it, bro. You can't trust men, or it's the same. You can't trust men, can't trust women, but you can trust numbers. Numbers do not lie. So I started to just realize, okay, these people need numbers, they need accountability, and they need a lot of other things in place to make sure that they're getting the best results. And truthfully, most of the clients I worked with probably 200, give or take. Probably 95% of them, they could have gone off and done their own thing after 6 weeks of working with me. Whether or not they all did, some of them enjoyed it and they want to continue. But most of them had a very good general sense of how to overcome, some of the obstacles they're facing, at least inside the gym. The other 5% of people, they might have needed, maybe a little bit more assistance. But majority of people I worked with, and by the way, I worked with probably 90% guys. They all run into the same issues: accountability, nutritional guidance, systems in place to keep them dialed in, and also progressive training structure. So these are the things I started implementing in my online coaching. And I picked up my first couple clients online. I was just getting general feedback from them. I was helping get them good results, and they started to enjoy it, continue to re-enroll into new programs. That's when I realized, okay, this is something that people are actually getting a ton of value from and making good results, and I should just continue with it. So I leaned into that side of the business instead of the in-person. And the online business just started to take off. I picked up client after client. People started re-enrolling into their programs and just leaving testimonials. There's a couple of links below in my description of this video and the link so you can watch them if you want to. A couple of my best students that have gotten crazy transformations and just had a really good experience. And yeah, so like that's essentially like why I'm here and why you're watching this video in the first place, because I actually have knowledge working with men between the ages of 25 and 45, trying trying to put on muscle mass, and maybe you're a couple of years younger, maybe you're closer to 50. But these habits, these rules, these concepts I'm going to break down are going to be able to be implemented into your lifestyle for the most part. If you're a one-off person, right, that maybe has some crazy mindset that holds them back, then it's probably not going to be for you. Probably need to overcome that first. But most of you guys watching, you can get results if you just implement these 4 concepts. So let's actually talk about like what they are and how to get started. Now, I want to touch on like what these 4 concepts are and the reason that so many people stay stuck. But I just briefly want to touch on a couple of people that have actually helped implement these systems into their lifestyle to start seeing tangible results. Now, first client I worked with, his name's Caleb. Me and Caleb started off working out in person together. We worked out a couple times, and I gave him some general structure with his training. But even he said it best, after 2 or 3 training sessions, there's not really much that you can grasp on in terms of actual learning and application. You need more help along the way. He also ran into an issue. He didn't want to continue coming in for in-person training sessions because he works a busy job. He's constantly traveling, not just traveling across the states, but going internationally for events and things of that nature. So we came up with a game plan. Let's get you good results and let me hold you accountable and implement these systems with my online coaching clients that I've done for just a few other people and see what happens for you. And after that individual got into the program, that's when client results just started to skyrocket. Everybody started making good transformations because I realized, A, he made a ton of progress. He dropped like 20 pounds of body fat, started putting on a ton of muscle mass. Within the first couple of months, I realized this is something that's working. Let's double down. So I started implementing the exact same concepts into all my other clients, and they got the exact same results, if not better. And at the same time, like there's other people I worked with, that have said the programs help their mindset, improve their confidence levels. One of my clients in particular, Lee, he made a really good transformation with the summer shred challenge that I run. So every quarter, I run some sort of challenge. Typically, it's who can get the best results, right? Wins a prize or a gift card or cash or supplements or something like that, right? And so he implemented these same habits and really started to see a ton of tangible results. So just know that it's not hard to get into shape, but it's also not easy, right? It's just a matter of you not knowing the right things to do and or you not knowing how to implement them on your own. See, most people that I speak with, they say, I don't know what exercises to be doing. I don't know how to properly train. I don't know how to, move the weight correctly. I don't know what foods to be eating. I don't know how much. I don't know how many steps to take, all this stuff. I can't hold myself accountable. So half of it is going to be teaching you the systems and the concepts you need to implement into your own lifestyle. And the other half of it is going to be accountability systems to make sure that you stay locked in. Because all the guys in the community, they're all men, just like yourself, watching this video. And they're all getting good results. It's just a matter of them following a system that's designed specifically for them. See, I'm not here helping people that are, women gain muscle. Like I have helped a few in the past, but I'm not helping like specifically women, right? But specifically men. I'm not helping people, with a keto or a low carb diet. Like for the most part, I'm helping people genuinely just implement a few key habits to start putting on lean muscle mass, regardless of their situation. And these people, they just started getting results, but it's because they took the action. So unless you're like willing to take action, then again, just like leave the video. Now that I've gotten your attention, you've been continuing to watch for a handful of minutes, God knows how long. It's time for us to actually reveal those 4 concepts. Now, like the first one I want to talk about is accountability, because as simple as it sounds, if we can't stick with something, we're never going to see the fruit of the labor and the long-term benefits. So what you need to actually do is implement systems, accountability systems specifically, to make sure that you do stay on track, but not just that you do just stay on track. Because we all know like it's difficult, we get sidetracked and put things on the back burner. Next thing you know, we fall off the routine and it gets hard to get back in. We all know that, right? But it's difficult to get feedback when you don't have somebody there holding you accountable because you don't know if what you're doing is the right thing or if it's the wrong. And if you're doing the wrong things, like Michael Jordan said once, you're just getting better at being worse. He said, if you're shooting from the hip and you're not shooting properly, you're just improving in the wrong direction. So we don't want any of that. If you're doing something and you think it might be working, but you're not sure, there's going to be some hesitancy there and you're probably going to stop eventually, or you're not going to go as hard. On the flip side, if you're doing things that you think are the right things, but they're the wrong things, you're not going to progress either. And so oftentimes what I've found, the hundreds of guys I've spoken with, hundreds of calls I've taken, it's not just the people that like think that they're doing the right thing. It's also the people that think they're doing the wrong thing. It's whatever the hesitancy is or the maybe uncertainty, because they're not getting feedback from somebody telling them like, hey, this is exactly what you should be doing. Just keep doing it and eventually it'll pay off. Because they don't have that in place. They don't know if they're doing the right thing or they're not. And it's hard for them to hold themselves accountable. So they fall off track. All right. So if you can implement accountability systems, you're going to know like, okay, not just am I doing the right things and I'm staying on track, because accountability is me showing up for you, making sure that you show up for yourself. But more so what it is it's giving you positive like affirmations, really like, hey, like, and when I say positive affirmation, I don't mean me saying in the mirror saying you're good enough. I'm saying like affirming what you're doing is the right thing to be doing for your goals. Because if you're not doing the right thing, but you're just going to stay in this hamster wheel. I've talked to so many guys and they do all the time. It's unfortunate. They're doing these things and they're like, yeah, like I'm just going to continue like another 3 years, 4 years, I'm eventually going to lose the weight. But if you just like thought about it, like if 6 to 12 months you've been doing the exact same things over and over and you're not putting on muscle mass, you're not seeing consistent progress, then nothing's really going to change, bro, if you don't make any tweaks. So you first need the accountability systems. The second concept that you need to implement that you're probably not implementing already is the right amount of nutrition. Because so many people that think, okay, I'm just going to do these chicken and broccoli rice meals, right? We've all heard it. I'm just going to do eggs and oats for breakfast. Like, I'm just going to have, no carbs, steak only. I'm going to try keto. I'm going to do all this stuff. And the first thing I'll say is those things are never sustainable because a diet is supposed to be a lifestyle. I don't even like the word diet. Implement a lifestyle that you can actually stick to year round for the rest of your life. And if you can't implement these things, it's going to be very, very challenging to do them long term if it's hard right now, right? If you're not able to be consistent right now, or if it's very demanding, it's probably not a matter of like you just doing more and being, harder, going more like on point. It's more so probably like you're just not doing the right things, right? So when it comes to the nutrition, a lot of people think that you need to do all these restrictive boring diets, and it's furthest from the truth. You need to implement systems in place that are going to allow you to get real results. So you need to figure out the macros that your body needs. I have a macro calculator if you guys want. I can also link that below, or you can just message me on Instagram at JStrivefit and say macro, keyword macro, MACRO, in case you don't know how to spell that word, and I'll send it over to you. But it basically is going to allow you to plug in your height, your weight, your age, your sedentary versus like active, like however much moving you're getting. It's going to determine these factors, and then you plug those metrics in, and it's going to spew out the number of calories, protein, carbs, and fats you need for your goals. And not just that, but it's also going to talk about how to properly time your nutrition. A lot of times people just eat the same sort of meals, but they are all at different times, and so it throws their body out of whack, and their metabolism, their hormones aren't like dialed in as much as they could be because they're just doing things randomly, sporadically, and like anything, our body loves consistency. It loves the routine of just constant feed time, constant sleep time, constant water, hydration levels, similar workouts, things like that. When you do things that are deviating from what you're normally doing, it's going to be hard to see results, right? So with nutrition, like you need to figure out like how many grams of protein, carbs, and fats and calories you need. And the first thing I always start off with when people join the AYP coaching program is I help them implement the right amount of protein, because protein is going to satiate your body, so it's going to make it very difficult for you to want to overeat. You're not going to have near as many cravings when you're eating a ton of protein. And so that's the one benefit. It's going to cut out you overeating, eating junk food, but more importantly, it's going to fuel the new muscle tissue, right? Because if you're not eating enough protein, like a gram to a gram and a half per pound of body weight, or like 0.8 to 1 gram per kilo, closer to like 1.5 to 2 per kilo. I'm sure most of you guys watching are in the US, but if you're not, just look it up. It's basically like 1.2 to 1.5, grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, or, 0.8 to like 1, maybe 1.5 grams of protein per pound body weight, right? Now that that's being said, you need to like actually know, like, because not just is the protein in the station, it's also going to give you enough, breakdown. It's going to break down into amino acids, which are the building blocks for building new muscle tissue. It's going to give you the essential nutrients that your body needs. And most people just overlook this. And not just that, but they also overlook like the sources themselves, because people think like I can just drink 2 or 3 protein shakes a day and slam a steak and chunk some hard boiled eggs, I'm going to get shredded. But it's like, okay, maybe. But one, you probably don't want to do that very often. And two, you actually need nutrient derivative foods that are going to absorb into your bloodstream and give you the nutrients. Because it's like, imagine going to the bank and, you cash a check that says like 20 grand on it. But when they give you the cash, you own like $2,000. It's like, what's going on? Like something's not right. And it's kind of the same thing. Like you're leaving the remainder of the funds on the table, just like, with your nutrition. If you're eating, 100 grams of protein every day, but 50 of it comes from sources that aren't ideal, more processed foods, um, protein shakes, things like that. Like there's just a high likelihood your body's not going to actually absorb and use all of it. It's on the contrary, like if you eat too much protein, you might not need that much, and you probably won't actually absorb all of it. But it's just better to be on the higher side, because if you're eating too much protein, it's very easy for you to understand, like, okay, I'm eating way too much protein. I'm wicked full throughout the day. Like, let me just chill out on this. On the contrary, when you eat too little, it's going to be hard to track any progress and see any results. So the first thing I do when people enter the program is I help them dial in their protein intake. And then when they do that, then we start to, as a second step, look at calories, because if you can eat enough protein, it's going to build enough muscle tissue. And it's also going to keep you satiated, which therefore, because you're not going to overeat, it's going to keep you nice and lean, consistently shredded, which is the goal. Or if you're overweight or want to lose some body fat, it's going to help you start to steadily drop that weight, right? And then when you can dial in the calories, that's going to make sure that you're in a deficit enough to the point where you're not eating more calories than you're consuming. So you're maxing out the amount of availability you can with building new tissue, and you're also minimizing the amount of excess calories you have, right? So if your protein target's on point and your calories are under where they need to be, then that just means that your body's going to be very, very efficient with the calories you're getting. Because if you're not getting a whole ton, not to say you need to cut your food back consistently, but like if you're eating tons of protein and your calories aren't too high, and there's only so much other leeway room for fats and carbs, which aren't the enemy by any means. But a lot of times people go overboard because they're not super nutrient dense. They don't directly help with a ton of muscle growth, right? Like carbs are important, fats are important. But if you could choose just one to focus on first, always protein target and then calories. Now, those are the first couple of concepts, and I don't want to go super deep into the rabbit hole of like carbohydrates, fats, and figuring all that out. If you guys want to know more, you can just click the link below. You can book in a free strategy call with me, and I can walk you through the 6-pillar framework that the clients inside the Achieve Regular Physique Coaching Program use to get crazy results. And then also B, I can see your situation, hear more about where you're at, and see if I can possibly help, because I can't work with everybody. Like I said, the early half of the beginning of the video, there's a lot of people I speak with that are just unmotivated. They're not to say that they need to be super perfect to a T, because if they already were motivated, they probably would just do it on their own. But you need to have some level of desire, some level of, I want this bad enough, I'm willing to at least put in the work. The other people that aren't willing to do that, they're already off this video. So I just want to reiterate, I don't work with everybody. I only work with people that are good fits for the program, because it affects not just me, but also the community of guys. Because inside the program, you're going to be surrounded by other guys on similar goals. And if they're seeing that you're not following through, you're barely doing your workouts, like you're not actually staying on top of everything, it's not going to make them feel more motivated. But if you're doing the opposite and you're actually grinding and working hard, like my best students inside the program, you're going to get crazy results. And you're going to start to see, okay, not just these people are getting results, just motivating me, but also I'm getting bigger results, which is motivating them. So it's going to have this ripple effect. And you're going to help other people get in shape just because you're taking your health serious. So if you're serious about this, then again, just click the link below. I can walk you through everything. It's not like a sales call or anything. It's literally just a time for me to hear where you're at. It's a strategy call. So we just figure out what the strategy that you need is. I have my system in place. See if it would make sense to plug into your current situation. Now, we've talked about the two concepts, right? Because I want to get back on track, right? First and foremost, we talked about the academy systems. Second, we talked about nutrition. The third thing is going to be training structure. Most people don't know what exercises to be doing. And even when they figure out what exercises to do, they think those are the end-all be-all goals, right? I'm just going to do these exercises for the rest of my life. But the thing is, if you're doing the same thing over and over, your body's going to get adapted much easier, right? If you're bench pressing and squatting 2 or 3 times a week, or even once a week, your body's not going to really challenge those exercises. So you need exercises that are going to stimulate enough muscle growth, cause enough response for you to actually break down new muscle tissue and then build it back up when you repair. That's how it all works. When you're sleeping and you have plenty of nutrients in your system, your body's going into active mode of repair and breaking down the damaged fibers and building up new muscle mass, right? So once you have these first two concepts dialed in, you want to just make sure that with the training, the exercises you're doing are enough to suffice for your goals and the results you're looking to achieve, but also something that's enjoyable and preferable, right? Because if it's not sustainable, you can't stick with it. It's just going to be a matter of time before you burn out, and probably you're going to put more stress on your body, increasing your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, which just makes it easier for you to store fat, harder to build muscle, and so we don't want any of that. want to make sure that the program you're using is dialed into your actual situation, right? So I'm going to teach you the exact exercise you need inside the program. But if you're just watching this video and just want to know like what to be doing, you ideally want to start with a concept of 3 to 4 days if you can. You know, twice a week is ideal. One day is better than nothing, right? But 3 or 4 days is where you're going to get like really, really good results. And if you can structure it with the priority at the beginning of the week and the highest priority at the beginning of the week, but least priority at the end of the week, that's when you're going to see like real results. So what this means in simple terms is if your weakest muscle group, say, are your legs, you want to prioritize that and put it in the early half of the week. And say strongest muscle for you, say like your triceps grow really easily and you don't really care about improving them, you just want to even everything out and build up the other muscle groups. Place the triceps and those other muscle groups that aren't as weak at the latter half of the training week, right? The reason for this is you want to start off with the most energy demanding exercises and the ones you want to prioritize most at the early half of the week because it's when your body has the most amount of fresh available energy. It's pretty common sense, but most people don't even like factor this in. And then they're doing the most important, highest energy demanding exercise at the latter half of the week when they're super depleted of energy. And not just that they're not getting the most from the workout, but more importantly, they're not recovering because it's too much stress on their body. So you need to structure this because it's going to be super crucial. And inside each training day, you need to also look a layer deeper, structure that. What's the first exercise? What's the last? Same sort of concept. Do the more energy demanding, the one you want to improve the most at the early half of the workout, and then start to taper down. At the end, you're doing exercises that are, either A, less energy demanding, or maybe the weight you're using, the reps you're using is just a lot less demanding on your body, or B, it's just muscle groups that are already, pretty strong and, grow rather easily compared with the rest, right? So we've talked about training, we've talked about nutrition, we've talked about accountability systems. The last thing that we want to target inside this is like the biggest thing of all four. It's literally, bro, going to change everything when you implement this final concept because people tend to look at that problem, but they don't look at the root cause behind that problem. See, they look at, I don't know which exercises to be doing, so I need a new program, or I need new exercises, or I need to change things. And I didn't mention, like, you also have to constantly be adjusting these things because your body adapts. So within the training days, you want to make sure you're also progressing with reps, weight, rest time, optimizing literally everything. And then week over week, you're making adjustments, not just to the exercise, but also to the way you're performing exercise and the technique, things of that nature. Right. Now, that being said, when you get to a point and you've mastered all three of these, you need to really start to look a little deeper if you want to see real tangible results. And what that is going to be is, okay, what is the root cause underneath the band-aid, underneath the surface level? What is it that is actually holding us back? And 99% of the time, bro, 99% of the time, it's a combination of your metabolism and your hormones. It's either A, your metabolism is too slow, you're not burning enough calories to stay lean, and because your metabolism is slowed down, it's actually diminishing how many calories and how many grams of protein you can eat to build your muscle growth. So not just is it slowing down what you're able to eat and consume and make it harder for you to be efficient doing it that way, but also it's just making you feel like you're not getting the best workouts, you're not looking your best, feeling your best. And so when you can start to increase your metabolism, getting yourself burning more with the structure laid out and also diving into how to optimize these things with your nutrition, with how many steps you're taking with the fat loss, all these things are going to work tangentially together, right? And it's going to allow you to see like the results you want. So how do we actually optimize and accelerate our metabolism? Well, we need to start eating enough food. Most of the time, the reason that people have a slow metabolism is because they're truly just not eating enough throughout the day. They're spacing out their meals, and our body loves stability, loves consistency. So if we're going all day, every single day, eating at the same, hour, same couple meals, same foods, our body's going to really get into a good routine with that and start to be super efficient with the nutrients we're putting in. But on the contrary, if what we're doing is eating at all random scattered times, we're having beef this day, chicken the next day, and I'm not saying you can't have variety, but literally like always, being off track, right? Like sometimes you're eating out, other times you're eating at home. Some days you're eating 3,000 calories, other days you're eating 5,000, other days you're eating 1,200. Your body does not like any of that. And so what's going to happen is you're going to increase your stress cortisol, your stress hormone cortisol, which is just going to make it easier for you to store more fat and harder to actually build new muscle. So you want consistency among all else. And when you can do these sorts of things paired with the right exercise and those other three concepts, that's when your metabolism is going to just accelerate at a much faster rate and get you way better results. Because not just do you want to put on 15 to 20 pounds of muscle, you probably also don't want to gain any more fat. If I had to guess, I might be wrong. Maybe some of you guys like the sumo wrestler look, but personally, myself and the people I've spoken with, they usually want to also have abs or be at least somewhat lean for their liking, paired with their muscle growth, right? Because if you just have a bunch of muscle but you're fat, it's like, bro, you really want that look? Maybe you do. It doesn't bother me. I just don't think I could help out with that, to be honest with you. Because like if you look at it, would you rather be like a strong man, like one of these guys that are super strong and they don't look in shape, or would you rather be somebody that's in very good shape and looks good, but still have some strength? I would rather go on the latter, right? Personally, at least. And if you're still watching, you probably want the same. So once you dial in your metabolism, the other half of the point that you want to look at is your hormone levels, right? So your testosterone, the major hormone that's going to be responsive for helping you build new muscle, lose body fat, and just keep your hormones dialed in so that your body operates efficiently. You need to be doing a couple things to make sure that's in place. First and foremost, when it comes to your hormones, you need enough fat in your diet. If your fat levels are too low, it's going to be very challenging for your body to be able to actually build up enough testosterone production. So when it comes to fats, you need to be eating healthy fats, avocados, dairy product is okay, egg yolk, things like that. There's a lot of other foods out there. I'm not going to go into a whole list here, but you need to be eating enough healthy fats, right? When you're doing that, the other thing you need to be doing is getting into a consistent sleep routine. Because if your sleep is all out of whack, it's going to be hard for your body, again, to just be adept to the cycle, and nothing's going to operate or function properly, at least how it should. So get into a consistent routine every single day when you wake up. Try to wake up around the same time. Maybe you're off by 30 to 60 minutes, but for the most part, try to be in a consistent routine, waking up at the same time. And you should also have some sort of routine in the morning time. So the 3 things I do when I first get up are, first and foremost, okay, this is going to sound crazy, but I used to wait 90 minutes, 2 hours before having caffeine. Now I started doing something different where basically I wake up in the morning time, I drink a cup of coffee, it's gone, as you can see. But that's the first thing I do. Second thing I do is I go on about 20 to 30 minutes of a brisk walk. Sometimes I just shoot hoops, but anything like low intensity cardio, which is very easy on the body. That's the second thing I do after drinking the caffeine. So I literally, bro, I wake up, I walk upstairs to my kitchen, I get some ice water, I drink probably like 30 to 60 ounces of ice water. Then I start, making my coffee. I drink that. And this is also like before food, mind you. Then I go on my walk or maybe shoot hoops. Usually I'm just walking, getting like, a podcast in or something crazy, to just optimize my brain, right? But obviously that's not for this video. And then once I do that, I just come back, to the crib and I hop in the shower. I take an ice cold shower for like anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes and shock the body, right? And I say shock the body. What I mean is like there's a reason I'm doing it in this way. And it's because I was listening basically to this 10X Health podcast. You guys should check them out. They're like dialed in when it comes to optimizing all these things, your hormones, your health, internal things, mindset, stuff like that, right? And I had never done all these 3 things as like a consistent morning routine back to back to back. So I just started doing it. And I realized my energy was through the roof. My reliance on caffeine, not that I have like a crazy high reliance on it, but I feel like I didn't need as much and I had just way more natural energy. And I also noticed that my test levels are increasing because I was doing some of these habits and I just noticed, more energy throughout the day, right? I'm getting leaner. I'm not changing many other factors, right? So that's something you want to look at is the morning routine, dialing that in, and also eating the right types of foods, especially when you're going the more organic, healthy option route. That's when your body's just gonna, be at its best and function efficiently, right? Because if you're watching the video, you probably just want fast results. You probably don't want to have to do all the boring stuff. You probably don't want to have to go get lab testing and figure out like what your test levels actually are. Like there's people that can do that for you, and I 100% say you should because it will give you the data. But a lot of people don't want to go through all the trouble of doing that. They just want the results, right? So instead of doing all these difficult things that are confusing and you don't know how any of the stuff works, try to piece it all together on your own. Like literally just take advice from a coach that implements all of these things into his own client's program and his own program. And then he just breaks it down into simple terms for you watching on YouTube. Smile, you're on camera. Like actually, I just took a screenshot. All right, back to reality. So that's pretty much what you want to focus on. And like if you can get the morning routine dialed in and you can get your sleep on point, your recovery on point, your training's there, your nutrition's dialed in, it's going to be very, very easy for your hormones to operate a bit more efficiently. And again, your test levels are going to directly correlate to the amount of body fat you lose, how lean you stay, how much muscle you gain. how much weight you're able to manage, how your body recovers, all these things. So that's the root cause, and I'm glad you say all the way to the end because that's truly the biggest thing. Because again, it's a two-part answer, but one, how your metabolism is actually operating, and the other is how your hormones are functioning, right? Because we can do all this stuff on the external, like eating more food, eating the right types of food, doing the right training, but if our body's not responding to it, then it's all for nothing. And maybe it feels good for you doing all this boring stuff. Maybe the type of person that loves to spend 2 or 3 hours in the gym 7 days a week and take 20,000 steps every day and be chained to a treadmill and like just not see results and look in the mirror and say, sorry, that just made me laugh. Maybe just look in the mirror, like, I'm not getting any results, but I feel pretty glad because I'm at least doing the work. And someday it'll just pan out. It'll just pay off eventually. But you've probably been doing the same thing for a couple of years now. It's probably frustrating. Maybe you've been doing it for less and you're like, okay, I don't want to wait that long. What happens? You're probably going to give up at some point. Let's just be honest. Like, we're not here to lie, cover up the truth. Like, it's just how everything works. And I've seen so many people do it. They try to go super hard or they're doing the wrong things and not seeing results. So they just give up. They stop. And it's unfortunate. And so, unless you're that type of person that just loves doing the work and not seeing results, which I doubt you are if you're still watching this video, then you need to implement these things. Because if you implement the right systems with accountability, with the proper nutritional strategy, and a progressive training structure, with the right exercises, the right guide in terms of like how to do everything, you have a clear roadmap on not just those three factors, but also how to dial in your testosterone levels, get them through the roof, get your hormones operating as best it can, and also your metabolism is efficiently maneuvering and basically like pushing food and energy into your muscle cells. Like when you can do those things, that's just going to be the biggest game changer for you guys. Because again, like if you're watching, you probably don't want to have to do more than what you're already doing. You probably want to do at the bare max, like at the absolute max. You just want to do the exact same. I'm sure if you guys watching, you probably don't want to add another day, another 2 hours on your workouts. You probably just want to do the exact same. If not, most of you guys watching probably want to actually would prefer to just do less and get better results, more efficient results. Because the name of the game is efficiency, right? Like if you think about as you get older, you might start to notice, okay, my health is declining a little bit, but there are other areas, of life that can improve. Like for example, if you're, say in a business, right? Say you own a business or you work some sort of like high demanding job, maybe you work a desk job, you probably notice that your energy levels, as much as you do optimize things, they decline just slightly as you start to get over the age of like 40. Some people closer to 45, some people a little bit younger than 40. But as you're doing these things, you're probably realizing, okay, like I'm doing more, but I'm not getting the same results as I used to, or as some other people that are younger than me, right? So they need to do things more efficiently. And in the same sense, with like stuff that actually doesn't affect like the physical training aspect. Like maybe, for example, if you're trying to grow your business and earn more revenue, maybe you're trying to make more sales with your company, maybe you're trying to get a promotion, whatever you're doing, whether it be studying, educating yourself, learning from practice, implementing things and getting feedback, that's going to allow your brain to increase. And, you're going to be a lot more efficient with how you do tasks day to day. Now, if you were to think back to when you're in high school, I can guarantee you're doing things way more efficiently when it comes to your work. You probably didn't even know what you were doing when you're in high school. Maybe some of you guys are still in the same career path and you just noticed you made like so much progress because you now know what you're doing. And it works the same with fitness. Like if you're more efficient with something, you're just going to get better and faster results. So if you take the same approach and you look at how to get into the best shape and put on like 15, 20 pounds of muscle, it's not a matter of doing more. It's just a matter of doing the right things more efficiently and having systems in place to keep you dialed in. Now, I hope you guys learned from those 4 concepts at least one thing to walk away from. I think all 3 are mandatory, but the final 4, the final one, like those 2 concepts that I touched on, that's what's truly going to get you the best results you can actually ask for. And it's something where when you address the root cause, the results become way easier. This is something for me where I used to do 5 or 6 days a week in the gym, sometimes even 7. And there were times, bro, where I did like 15 workouts in a single week. I'm not exaggerating, like 15. Like 2 or 3 times a day, I'd be in the gym. And I'd be training for like 2 hours. And then the other time I would go, I'd be in there for like 45 minutes or an hour. So we're talking 3 hours, 7 days a week. That's like 20 hours a week of work. Literally not of work, but like just training inside the gym, like work in that sense. And it's funny because I was seeing good results. And obviously you're going to see crazy results if you're doing that much volume and you're doing things somewhat right. But I saw way crazier transformative results when I started to just take more time away from the gym, rest. I would do it 3 days a week at the gym. I'd spend 3 to 5 hours there. And, truly, it's allowed me to see the best results. These are the same things that I implement to all my clients, in person and online. And for those of you guys watching, in case I didn't make it clear, I don't do the in-person training anymore. So if you do want some assistance with implementing these 4 habits, you just click the link below. I can walk you through the online coaching platform with AYP, see if you would be a good candidate. If not, no worries. I can always point you in the best direction that I feel like would help and serve you. But I mean, it doesn't hurt. It's a free call, and it's just really a roadmap call to walk you through where you're at, where you're looking to go, and see if there's a gap for us to actually be able to help out with. And if not, then at least you get some value from the call. So that being said, those are the 4 key habits that you should start implementing if you haven't already, to make sure you get the best results and put on 15, 20 pounds of muscle within the next 90 days, which is 3 months. It's very doable, but just most people, they don't look at how to do these things, and they try to just eat more food or cut back their calories a little bit, or step up their step count. And it's like, these are things that work for sure, but you're not addressing the root cause, and it's going to eventually just get frustrating, and you could just be getting better results with less if you just did things smarter. So again, you probably know these are things that are going to help you, but here's like the real thing that we come to. We're at the finish line here, right? The video's about to wrap up. There's 2 paths really that you can take. One, you can take what I've put in this video and piece it together on your own and try to implement it, and it might work. Okay, you might get some results, but you're not going to get the direct feedback loops that you need to actually make the real change. Because if we look at it, feedback loops are what get us results. Like I touched on briefly earlier, when you're doing something correctly and you're being told this is the right thing, keep doing more of it, or you're doing something correctly and you have somebody saying, hey, you're not doing the right things, let's tweak things here and there, that's going to get you real results. But if you're just doing things and you're not sure if it's right or wrong, it's either A, you're not going to be doing the right things and you're not going to get results, or B, it's going to take way too long, or C, more importantly, you're going to get in your own head and be like, I don't even know if this is the right thing to be doing. I don't know if I'm eating the right amount of calories. I don't know if I'm doing the right exercises. I don't know if I'm doing enough volume, too much, if I'm around head, if it's the patient, if I just need to do things differently. Like, you're not going to know unless you have the feedback loops. So you can definitely implement some of these habits, but I don't think it would be super ideal for you to just walk away from this video and try these all together on your own, unless you are somebody in the 1% that's like, hey, I truly think I'm the big dog. I can figure all this stuff on my own, and I have a lot of experience with doing it. Then by all means, take this and run. But if you are somebody on the other side, the other path that's like, hey, I don't necessarily think I know everything that this guy's talking about. And although he broke it down into like very simple, maybe like 3rd grade terms, like very easy words and verbiage for his audience, because they don't, study the game as much as I do myself personally, as much as like he's talked about like all these, simple things, and some of it's advanced, some of it's not. I don't know how everything works behind the scenes. And instead of trying to piece it together on my own, I would just know for certain that I'm guaranteed getting knowledge from somebody that's directly impacted a bunch of people in his program, men like yourself watching, and his own physique. He was able to grow with these concepts, right? So if you're somebody that's like, it just makes more sense to get the feedback loops and get the assistance and the guidance from a coach like John, then this is probably for you. See, I have 3 coaching spots that open up for the AYP Summer Shred Challenge. Like I said, every quarter I do a Summer Shred Challenge. The winner gets either a cash prize, or they get a discount on their next program, or they get supplements or some sort of gift. Kind of varies depending on what they want. I always do a couple different options. But every Summer Shred Challenge and every challenge that I do, I look to add on a couple more people to the program if I feel I actually have the capacity to handle everybody. Because I usually don't take on more than 10 or 15 people every like month or two, because it just gets a lot of work for me to keep up with, and I want to just get my clients better results. I would rather work with a select 20 to 30 guys that are getting the same results than work with like 100 clients that they're not getting the attention they need, they're not getting results. I've been in programs myself where like people don't reach back out to me for like 24, 48 hours. Like, I don't like any of that stuff personally, and I just know that the people in the program that I'm in, like my program, they are people that need help, right? They don't just want results, they need results, and they're serious about it. So I'm going to be top of mind and keep them locked in, dialed on point. Now, if you're somebody that's like, this makes a lot of sense, I want to hear more, here's how it works. Basically, I opened up 3 spots, but I did have somebody yesterday, like maybe yesterday morning, just take one of the spots. So I have 2 remaining. So if you want to hear more about how the coaching program works, I can walk you through the 6 pillars that framework I use for the Achieve Your Ideal Physique coaching program. See if you'd be a good fit, and honestly, just give you a roadmap of like how to get there. Then just book a call below in the link. You could also just go to my Instagram at jstroudfit, same as here, and just message me the word ready. If you don't know how to spell, here we go. READY, all caps or lowers, doesn't really matter. I'll figure out what you mean. But just message me ready on Instagram, or just click the link below, and this way I can walk you through how everything works, see if we're a good fit, and then we can jump on a call, and I can go deeper into your situation and all the specifics behind like the basic simple terms I walk through. Because obviously, like on this video, this is just like general, right? Like a lot of people inside the program, they have watched some of these videos, but like most of the time they're watching the course modules specifically for them, and they're getting direct feedback from me. So they don't need to watch a ton of this content, although it is valuable for sure. Gives them more understanding, more of my experience, how more of my process works, and they can implement some of the stuff. Most of the time, they just join the program, they just get the results, and they just want to be held accountable, so they don't have to go on YouTube and find this guy named John Stroud and like go through his content, right? So if you're somebody that's like, hey, I don't want to try to piece it all together on my own. I just want to figure out exactly step by step the processes that this guy is doing to get his clients in crazy shape, like shredded and jack physiques. Then again, just click the link below, or just go to my Instagram at jstroudfit and message me the word ready, and I can walk you through how everything works. Now, on that note, I just want to say, stay tuned because real content is coming soon. I say real content, like we're diving deep into real situations, problems that people I've worked with have struggled with, or people I've talked with on calls. I've dealt with people that used to train in person, their issues, and how I've been able to overcome them for countless guys just like yourself. Again, if you're like 25 to 45, you're a guy, you're relatively motivated, you're somewhat inspired to take action. I'm not asking you to be perfect and do everything. Of course, that's what I come in to play for, is to help you get the best results. But if you're somebody that's fitting those boxes and you're like, hey, I want to take my physique to the next level, but more importantly, I want to achieve the best possible life that I can, the 2.0 version of myself, or have a top tier mindset, a top tier physique. I'm dialed in with my mindset, my physique, my health, everything is on point, and I'm actually a leader for my family, for those around me. People are looking up to me saying like, wow, man, you look in great shape. Like, how can I get like you? Like, if you want this sort of lifestyle, it's very, very simple. You just need the right approach, the right systems, and efficiency, not more work. I'm not saying you don't have to do work. You definitely have to be willing to put work in, but you don't need near as much work as you think. What you need is the efficient strategies that the clients inside the Achieve Your Ideal Physique coaching program are using, or some other program that I'm not really familiar with, to be honest with you. If you're somebody that fits the demographic and you're like, hey, I want to take the time to dive deep into my health, learn more about the person that I actually can become and what's capable of myself deep down, but I'm not really sure how to get there, then again, click the link below, booking a free strategy call. You can have a call with me and myself directly. I have a couple people to help me with the team, but they don't do the calls. It's just literally me where you get to chat with me one-on-one. I'll just dive deep, like, okay, this is your point A, this is where you're currently at. Where's your goal? Like, what's the North Star for you? Like, what's the ideal situation? And then you're probably going to tell me, like, you want to put on 20 to 30 pounds of muscle. Maybe you want to put on 15, 20 pounds in 90 days. Okay, boom. This is exactly how we're going to get you there. But first, we have to figure out what you've done that has worked, what hasn't worked, what your preferences are, all these sorts of things, your dietary restrictions, if any. And then if I feel like I'm actually a fit, I'll just walk you through everything works, get you started, we'll onboard you right then and there. And then from that point, you'll be in the community getting accountability for not just myself, but all the guys in the AYP community. So again, if that's something that you want, just click the link below, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned because there's a bunch of real content coming out soon, diving deep into all these sorts of issues so you can get into the best shape of your life this summer. It's already mid-June ago. Now that I look at it, it's June 22nd. So stop wasting time, but stop putting your health on the back burner, because it will come back to haunt you. Whether that's tomorrow, whether that's next month, whether that's next year, or whether it's 5 years from now, you will look back on yourself. And whether you remember this video or not, you will look back on yourself and realize, wow, I wish I did more in the past. I wish I just took more action. Because it's hard either way, but it's hard to do the hard work consistently. It's hard to ask for help. It's hard to stay dialed in. But on the flip side, you get a life that you actually desire. And it's also hard to not do the work. I mean, it's easy then, right? But it's hard to not do the work, not do all these things, not meal prep, not eat properly, not have any help, not get any guidance ever. And then look back and be like, damn, bro, I could have just at least tried to implement this stuff. I could have at least, tried to book in a free call with this dude, see if you could help me out. Worst case, I'll try it on my own, but most people don't even take that step. They don't even get to the point where they're looking for guidance because they just think they could do it on their own. And like, bro, you're just delusional. Like, not to, make you pissed off at the end of this video, bro, but like, surely if you are not seeing results that you're content with, you're not doing everything in your power. You could be doing more. And you should not be lazy. Because when you get into a dialed in, consistent routine, you're going to have habits in place, a routine in place, which is going to be easy to stick with. But you're also going to, more importantly, have a purpose. This is what I talked about in one of the emails I sent out earlier. Is you're going to have purpose in your lifestyle, purpose for waking up every day, working actively towards your goals, and that's going to carry over into other areas of your life. Because as your fitness improves, so will your confidence levels, your self-esteem. You're going to feel like you're more worthy as a man, and that's going to carry over into your business. So you're going to probably make more money. You're probably going to have, more confidence that you just exude around your peers, clients, coworkers, managers, things of this nature, right? And this is not just like hearsay. Like literally, bro, this changed and impacted my life for the better when I started to implement fitness and these approaches into my lifestyle. My clients have said the exact same thing. They've gotten new job offers. They've landed positions. They've made more money at work. They've had better relationships. They become the man in the relationship they want to be. Their wife, their girlfriend, etc. It tells them like how good they look. They've never felt this good. Their energy levels come back. So the only risk is not taking any change, not taking any chance to make a change. The biggest risk is not making any changes. Can't say that way. The biggest risk is not making a change to do the right things. I'm gonna leave it on that. The biggest risk is not doing enough things or making change to seek the information that you need. Because if you knew exactly what to be doing, you wouldn't be watching this video. You would have the physique that you already want, and you'd be dialed in. You'd be locked in. You'd be sharp on the beach right now, 6-pack abs, all that stuff. But you're watching this video because that shows you're not content with where you're at. And nothing's going to change if nothing changes, bro. You need to make real smart decisions. So, again, like if you feel like this is something that would help, just click the link below and book in. And worst case scenario, I hope you guys got value from this video. What I want you to do if you did get value, regardless if you book a call, regardless if you subscribe, follow, like whatever, you can do that, but you don't have to. Regardless of all of that, if you got value from this video, what I want you to do is out of the 4 concepts I broke down, I want you to drop 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the comment section. I'm gonna make it super simple for you guys. You don't have to type out all the words. Literally just put the number there, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Which one was most valuable for you? Was it the nutrition? Was it the accountability systems? Was it the progressive training structure? Or was it the final pillar, which was metabolism and hormones? Let me know in the comment section which one you found most valuable. And again, if you want to book a call to work one-on-one with me or just hear about how the AYP coaching program works to get you into the best shape of your life and help you become that 2.0 version, then just click the link below and I'll see you guys real soon. Stay tuned.